My name's Dan Powell. I'm a visually impaired judo player, and also I'm a director down here at Generate Academy. I've gone to 14 international competitions on the trot and won medals, which nobody's ever done before. I've managed to compete in 4 games. You know, LA will be another huge step, and being able to go one step further and turn the silver into gold would be an amazing ambition. Growing up with a visual impairment for me, you know, was at times difficult, especially going through mainstream school. The one thing that I always look forward to, that even the playing fields for me, was sport. You know, I got to do PE, and I got to start competing against people in my class that, you know, for me, I couldn't keep up with in lessons like English and maths and science. But, you know, actually doing sport, racing alongside, using your body, doing like all these different things, it really was the time that I could join in and also excel. So I've got a condition called macular dystrophy. It's a cone rod dystrophy. Is actually a form of macular dystrophy which affects your central sight. So I've got no central sight at all in both eyes now, and I've got very limited peripheral sight now. So I can pick up light and dark from the centre, but it's extremely blurry. It looks a bit like old interference on a telly. If you're that old, then you can remember that still. When it comes to accessibility, there's a lot of opportunities out there nowadays. You know, technology being heightened, you know, to support people, especially with my condition. It is something that is really important. You know, it gives me the opportunity to put myself on that pedestal on social media, and also, you know, when it comes to different things like accessing training diaries and training methods and things like that. You know, for me, it's really important because it does level the playing field, you know, and it does give me those opportunities to succeed on what I want to do, both in a sport and side of things, but also a business. I always ask the question, like, you know, why is the braille on the outside of a vending machine when you don't know what's in it? You know, and even in the bank I went to the other day, there's braille and embossed text all over the walls, but how do you know where to find it, you know, to start with? You know, it's unfortunately, I do think there's sometimes when there's inclusion aims, you know, you're trying your best, and then there's sometimes when sighted people are actually giving it a go to try and make things easier, especially for visually impaired people. It can be sometimes misled or misinterpreted. I tend to use an iPhone. For me, it's the best when it comes to accessibility, as I use the voiceover. I also use the screen reader tool. So, you know, I get quite a lot of emails every day. You know, when it comes to the business side of things, I am like terrible at reading. So, you know, the screen reader element is massively beneficial. And the final thing is the invert colour side of things. You know, for me, very bright lights, you know, are difficult. You know, it makes my condition, you know, even worse. It just takes the final little bit of sight off me. What's been great is most recently, you know, things like the British Elite Athlete Association and Paralympics GB. You know, none of us want to read just top to bottom paragraphs of information, and, you know, like the best way of capturing people is by, you know, through an image or a video at the top of your email. And, you know, one of the things that these guys have done really, really well is straight away it gives a little bit of a piece of information around what the images are on the screen as well. So once again, when I'm using my screen reader, you know, it's great because I'm getting the full image of what this email is about. You can, you know, mentally envisage that, and it does really help you soak that information in as well. The one thing which I always find quite funny but also bemusing is the fact that people, mainstream, you know, non-disabled people, will look at some of the things that I do and be like, oh, how can you do that when you can't see? Like, how can you lift that weight when you can't see? How can you, you know, do that in the kitchen when you can't see? And it's the attitude of the person without the disability that almost becomes the barrier, I think, in our society, because there's this belief and this taking offence which is by the person stood next to you then being offended for you, or it's the people who go, I'll do that for you because you can't do that. And I'm very much like, let me show you what I can do before you tell me what I can't. It's my attitude and it's your attitude, and it's them things, working coherently together, which then hopefully you get the best result out of.